Is, oh, no. I'd like to call to order the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency meeting, July 24, 2019, 6:04 p.m. Madam Roll Call.
Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Commissioner Lanier?
Here.
Commissioner McCoy?
Here.
Vice Chair Botel?
Here.
Chair Miller Anderson?
Here.
Also present, Scott Evans, Interim Executive Director, and Michael Haga, General Counsel.
We'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Chair Pro Tem Botel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions or deletions?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Disclosures by commission and staff. Have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel?
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council person so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do we have any public comment cards for consent?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, do we have any board members that would like to pull an item from the consent? All right, yeah.
Move consent.
All right.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel?
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's the end of consent. Regular business, item number 4.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving the Commercial Grant Incentive Program Round 2 applications to assist local business and improve properties in the community redevelopment area, increasing the remaining grant program funding from $182,706.19 to $234,210, providing an effective date.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Evans?
Good evening, Madam Chair and CRA Board.
Good evening.
This is the second round of our grant program, and it's designed to improve property values in the CRA by making small incremental improvements to some of our local commercial properties. The strategy is to collectively improve the overall look of the area and towards changing the perception and attracting large-scale future development in the future. And our project manager, Andre Lewis, will present this item.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is the commercial grant program applicants for round 2. So a little bit of background about the commercial grant program. Back in February of 2019, round 2 of the grant program was approved. Round 2 of the commercial grant program was approved. This is the property improvement incentive portion of the grant program, which is a 1-to-4 matching up to $40,000, and the beautification program is a full reimbursement of up to $4,000. We had 2 technical assistance dates back in March 4th and March the 21st, and in May 30th of 2019, our final deadline for submission was on that date, and we received 7 qualified applicants, and they were ranked and scored.
Excuse me,
So-
sir. Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
how many did you have originally?
We had 8. Yes. So the first applicant is actually the home of the BB&T and the Housing Authority and the CRA office. He wants to do several exterior improvements, which the first one would be to install a large landmark sculpture about 15 feet, and it'll be placed in front of the building. And I use this picture. This picture is back to probably 2017. The building was badly damaged during the hurricane, and I wanted you to see, use this to illustrate that the owner is currently doing more improvements on the building, and you'll see some of the improvements in the next slide, and this will just be an addition to that. So also he'll be resurfacing the parking lot, upgrading the landscaping, adding edging, ficus, and installing decorative stones. So this is a sketch of what the sculpture would look like. Now the sculpture, where you see the round circles and the poles, that is actually supposed to illustrate people, and the actual surface of it is a USB port. So it's people being connected by technology.
Cool.
So the applicant will be spending about $30,856. The CRA's contribution will be about $40,000. So the total project cost will be $70,856. So the next one would be Taxes 911 LLC, which is on 125 President Barack Obama Highway. The improvements will be putting on a new roof on the building, resurfacing and striping the parking lot, and adding more lush landscaping and signage. And again, I used the older picture to show that, to also illustrate that the owner has done some improvements since this picture, new windows and doors, and a new paint job. So the applicant will be spending about $5,906. The CRA's contribution will be around $29,530. So the total project amount will be $35,436 for this project. Ferguson Firm PLLC, which is on their new location, 2826 Broadway. He's looking to add 3 large signs to give him more visibility from the street. The applicant will be spending around $1,170. CRA's contribution will be $4,680. The total project amount will be $5,850. Gladstone Realty, the 901 to 923 Broadway, that block, they are doing several major improvements, and this is one of the phases of the project. They'll be doing a replacement of all the storefront framing glass and doors, and installing steel awnings. And as you can see on the rendering,
Thank God.
you can see the steel awnings. That's proposed. The applicant will be spending around $57,800, and the CRA will be, the CRA amount will be $40,000. The total project amount will be $97,800. So the former Webb Dry Cleaning Building at 1601 Broadway, they're doing several improvements to the building. They'll be replacing all the storefront windows and doors, enlarging the 2 windows, painting the building, adding decorative stucco detail on the front and on the sides of the building. And you can see the rendering to the right. The applicant will be spending around $21,917. The CRA's contribution is $40,000, and the total is $61,917. Atlantic National LLC, it's on 64 West 21st Street. They're doing several major improvements on this building. The installation of impact windows, installation of industrial glass, steel doors, stucco and painting, installation of outside lighting, a new wooden fence, installation of new sidewalk handicap ramps, and resurfacing of the parking lot, landscaping, signage, and additional bicycle park racks. And you can see it on the illustration to your right, the rendering. The applicant is spending about $21,500. CRA's contribution will be $40,000, so the total project amount is $61,500. Victory Church. This is on 163 West 20th Street. They're doing several exterior improvements, installation of impact windows, industrial glass and steel doors, stucco and paint, perimeter fencing, and also resurfacing and striping of the parking lot, signage, and landscaping. This will cost the applicant $25,080. CRA's contribution is $40,000, and the total will be $65,080. And this is just a brief breakdown. You can see the rankings. Millennium One, Taxes 911, Ferguson Firm, Gladstone Realty, and Zachary LLC are all ranked 1 through 5. These are all covered by the current budget amount. And Atlantic LLC and Victory Church, we would need an additional $80,000 to cover those two projects. And I'm here for any questions.
Do we have any public comment cards, Tamara?
We do. We have one public comment card.
All right, let's go to public comment cards.
Bonnie Larson.
Bonnie Larson. I was interested in this because I know some of these properties, but I went through and I have some additional information for you just for your edification. And I wondered, how were these, I'd like to know, how were the applicants reviewed and ranked? What were the rankings that put them number 1, number 2, number 3? Then I wondered who did the review. It was done by Andre Lewis, who just spoke, and we hired a consultant. And I'm wondering, why do we hire a consultant? We have so many people working at the CRA. Wouldn't someone else? And it was supervised by Mr. Scott Evans. So that's who did this. Okay. Property number 1, Millennium One. Is that owned by Graziato? I think it is. Graziato has more money than all of Riviera Beach put together, if it is. I think, well, I'm not getting an answer, okay, but I think it's owned by Graziato. Anyway, we are tenants there. We've been tenants there for years. For several years, they dishonored Riviera Beach. That whole south side of their building fell off, and we had to look at yellow crime scene tape for years. That wasn't right. That wasn't right. Now they did all this renovation, so they're renting out 2 additional floors. But that wasn't right. That we didn't get a reduction in rent. We didn't get anything from them. Now they're asking us for $40,000 for a statue. Yeah. Taxes 911. I looked that up, and it said it's a nursing home. It would have been nice to have a current photograph of all these places. They want pretty much everything: roof, landscaping, parking signs. They want pretty much everything. The Ferguson Firm. That just moved from another location in Riviera Beach to Broadway 2826. And what I think he's going to do is there were huge signs there. That's the old pawn shop. I can't think of the name of it. The big pawn shop. And there's a huge sign in the front. Are we still allowing huge wall-to-wall signs? Because that's what I'm sure he's asking for here. And in one part of the backup it asked for 2 signs, and another part of the backup it asked for 3 signs. And also he's renting there. He moved in June or July. So another question I have is, should we be giving all this money to people who rent, who don't own the building? Gladstone Realty. It's a realty company. It's owned by someone in Palm Beach. Do we need to be giving our money to Palm Beach people? All right. Web Cleaners, they don't have tenants yet. They're just anticipating. I have to hurry here. Atlantic National, I don't know what that is. It sounds like a bank to me. And then Victory City Church. I think we have to be careful about giving to churches. I think we need to separate church and state here, because if we give to this one church, every church in Riviera Beach is going to want, and we shouldn't just single out one to give the money to. So those are my questions. Should we be giving to churches? Should we be giving to people who only rent? Because you rent, you got a sign, you move to the next location, that sign is not going to fit. So I'd like to know how the ranking on this. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any comments from the board?
Madam Chair.
Yes. Go ahead.
I wanted to know, how did you determine the amount that was given to each project? Because I see some is 40 and some is 29, one is 6.
Okay. So it's a 1-to-4 matching. So we do 80%. So I look at the the dollar amount, and we look at 80%, and that's what would be the extent of our contribution. So, and they don't get that all at one time. So, as they turn in different receipts showing that they've paid the contractor, so every time they turn in a receipt, whether it be if it's $1, we reimburse them 80%, and I proceed in that fashion until the full amount has been expended.
Follow-up question.
Go ahead.
I was looking at one of the buildings that I'm not sure if it's 23rd or 24th Street, but I wanted to know what is that? How does that impact a renter in those buildings? Because I know once the improvements are made, they may want to raise the rent. Is there any assurance about people who are renting from these people who we're giving money to, and then in turn they've been in this building for a while? And I'm speaking specifically about that place that's called Tony Subs, and I know he's been in there for a while. So I'm wondering, would that impact his rent?
Actually, I can respond to that. Tony Subs is only temporarily going to be located in that property. We've actually completed a development agreement with his business to relocate to the corner of Avenue F and Blue Heron Boulevard. And they are now in the development approval stage with the city for that project. And I believe they've also gotten confirmation of construction loan funding. So they're proceeding, and soon he'll have a brand new commercial building that he's planning to move into. And he's a tenant, of course, in that existing building. Referencing the earlier question, both property owners and tenants are allowed to apply for these grants, but we do not get into the relationship between the tenant and the owner of the properties.
You have any more questions?
No, that's it.
Okay, go ahead.
My question was about Tony Subs, and you've answered it. Thank you.
Yes,
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
Mr. Evans, fiscal year 20, what are you allotting for this program in aggregate?
We would propose to do a new round of $250,000 for the next year. But that would be, of course, subject to board approval in the new budget.
And what was it for 19?
In 19, we carried over unspent funds from the previous year. So in 18 and 19, it was $350,000 combined.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans, who's going to be actually following up to make sure the work is done that they're going to be prepaying for? Because I guess they're going to be looking for reimbursements on work that they've paid for. Are we going to wait on it to be completed, or do they just need a paid invoice?
For portions of the project that could be completed, we do issue partial payment on that to assist the property owners. We also monitor their building permits to ensure that they've received both building permits and the proper inspections. And Andre Lewis, our project manager, oversees those reimbursements.
So, Mr. Lewis, will you be doing the inspections on the properties to make sure they're completing the work they say they're going to do?
Yes, I will. I'll be doing visual inspections, and also, in concert with completed building permits. So once that's passed, for example, if the roof is being completed, once they've got a passing inspection from the city and I visually see it, I also look at the invoice and the paid check, canceled check. So I put all those together. If they jive, then we submit for payment.
Follow up, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
And then the ranking. I just see the scores, but how were these different businesses ranked? What was the scoring criteria or curriculum that they used?
We have economic incentive manual that lays out specific criteria for the scoring, and the scoring criteria includes the percentage of how much the applicant is putting into the project compared to how much the CRA is putting in. The number one scoring criteria is how many contractors or subcontractors that are based in Riviera Beach that they're utilizing. Additional criteria includes if they're creating new jobs as a result of this expansion.
Okay. Mr. Evans, I would like to see in the criteria of actually what you use the scores, because I'm just looking at points and I have no idea how you got to these numbers. And as of right now, we have our top 6 applicants, and we're going over what was budgeted for by $80,000. and we're going to incorporate, we're looking to the board to approve the last two, but I don't know where the scoring came from, so that's my only concern.
Question. Are you done, Mr.?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do we go beyond the amount with the extra two?
So based on our current criteria, the way we presented it, we have funding to fund the top 5 ranked projects. But because we're proposing to continue this program next year, and the new budget year is in October 1st, we're proposing to fund the remaining 2 applications since they're complete, and we feel that they meet the criteria of the project. And we wouldn't, following this approval, we actually complete specific contracts with each of the grantees. And so if the board approved those additional grantees, then we would complete those contracts following October 1st if the board approves the additional funding.
So the 80,000 wouldn't be coming out of this budget, it'll be, you're asking for it for the upcoming budget?
Excuse me, Chair, I want to clarify. The top 5 rankings would be covered up to 154,000, so it would only be an additional 51,000 roughly that we would be adding to what's already in the pot, not 80. So
Okay.
just to clarify.
Okay, but even still, with the 50-something thousand, so you're wanting us to approve that tonight for 20's budget or for 19, to modify 19's budget?
Tonight, we're proposing to approve all of the grant applications, funding them out of this year's budget, and then if you desire, then to approve this one contingent upon approval of the budget. So the first 5 would be approved, and those contracts could proceed immediately. The remaining 2 would not have to reapply in next year's round. If you approve them tonight and you approve the budget for that program in next year, then they could go ahead and complete their projects. But they couldn't begin until the next budget year.
All right, so for me, I would prefer to stick with what the criteria was that we set. If we said we were only going to go over that amount, I understand the additional 2 may have qualified and completed their packets, but unless we're going to, because I don't want to keep blowing the budget up every year, compounding it. So if we want to take it off for the next year, go ahead and approve it and take it off of the next year's and include them as a part of, if you do 10, you would just do 8 more. Or, because I just don't want to keep inflating the budget each year, going over what we had already approved. Yes.
Madam Chair.
McCoy and then, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly understand your concerns and also Councilman Commissioner Lawson's, but even before we consider the conversation of carrying forward a grant application to the new fiscal year, all of that is dependent upon what those rankings are and what they represent.
Most definitely. Mm-hmm.
I guess I'd never seen it in this perspective until
Yeah,
Commissioner Lawson brought it up, but I certainly would like to know what that evaluation criteria was.
I would too.
And not only that, if I can remember correctly, when I first inquired about this program back in, I think it was the 18 fiscal year, I was told that this process is done similar to a RFP and that it was competitive because I asked for submittals of those people who had submitted an application, and the comparison was drawn that these are treated the same fashion as RFPs. So being that that's the case, and the concerns I heard from Commissioner Lawson and Chair Miller Anderson, I'm curious to know what the evaluations are, because I certainly want to support this program, but these last 2 items that we're proposing for fiscal year 1920 fiscal year is very much dependent on what those rankings are and those evaluations.
All right, so are we looking to do a postponement and bring the item back once we get the criteria?
Well,
Madam,
What do you all want to do?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Hold on, McCoy, Lawson, and Lanier.
well, my concern is I don't want to reject it, but
No, we wouldn't be rejecting it if we postpone it until the next meeting. It just would be delayed.
right. But then does that then put us in the posture of us now doing the reevaluations ourselves?
No, well, I mean, what do you want? Do you just want to see the criteria?
I mean, because, we have a right to reject, right? And we also have the authority to then rank ourselves. So, I want to be able to at least see what those evaluations, to see if there's some parity to what the criteria is and if there's any subjectivity in it. Not that I don't trust staff, but you know what? 2 eyes are better than one. And that's what I would like to see, especially in this situation.
Okay. Next, Lawson.
Madam Chair, the last two scoring applicants, if we are putting those off to the next budget, I think, so you said that it was 51,000 that would be rolling over? That's
51,000 that we would have to add to furnish those last two applicants. But
Okay.
we have enough in the budget for the top 5 ranking.
So I guess that's where I'm a little confused, because the last one, Victory Church, which scored the least points, is being allocated 40,000, and Atlantic National is also allocated 40,000. So are they not allowed to start the work until after the next budget is approved? Will we have to wait, or these businesses waiting on to get started? What is going to be the process?
We have to get approval from the board for them to start. If work is start without approval, then those dollars can't be covered under this grant. So they can only proceed once we've given them approval through this grant.
But I guess that's the concern or the question. If we're not going to approve it till the budget is approved, that means we're looking at a few months before they can even begin work. And they're not going to be encompassed in this budget at all.
Right, that's what we were saying. If we moved it to the next fiscal year, they wouldn't start before October 1st.
So the alternative was to add it to this current budget, the additional 51,000, so that they could begin work immediately?
And that was
Madam
initially.
Chair.
Yes, that was his initial question. Request.
I don't think that the timing really affects their ability to start based on the grant approval does affect them. The availability of the funds, of course, most of these projects need to submit for building permits and go through that whole process. So there's quite a time lag before they can actually begin construction. But the proposal was to approve them contingent upon the budget funding of next year, so that they didn't have to reapply if there's a new round approved. And that way the board, if they decide to provide the money, either $250,000 for a new round or even just the $50,000 to approve those two projects, the board would have that option without having to issue a whole new scoring criteria and process for those two applicants.
Done, Mr. Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Lanier?
I have problems moving this forward with all the questions that I have about how this is laid out. I would like for us to postpone into the next meeting so some of the questions that we have can be answered, and then we can go forward in good faith,
Okay.
knowing that,
You want to make a motion?
yes, I make a motion that we postpone the vote for this item until the next meeting, and the CRA can bring us back the information that we requested.
All right. We'll have a second. Do we have a second for that? All right, dies for lack of a second.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and I certainly respect Commissioner Lanier, but, I mean, if it's a question issue, and I just think, Commissioner, I don't think for me it went far enough. I want the evaluations, and I want the scoring criteria, I want the submittals, and I want to be able to review that. So perhaps that can be captured and your questions can be answered, and us receiving the same information that staff used to evaluate them. But that's what I would like to see. And this is not like...
But you still want a postponement
Right.
until you get that, right?
Right, but I just think,
You just
I don't believe her
modify-
motion went
Okay,
far enough.
okay.
Because what I'm thinking is, if we're going to postpone it, then it shouldn't just be to ask questions. We need
No,
to
no,
have
no.
that information so that we can see it, and if we're okay with it, then, and if her questions are then answered, then I think we can bring it back. But my concern at this point is I want to be able to look at the criteria in those submittals. Because unlike the other RFPs, we require, and certainly we require some skin in the game from these applicants, because I think it's a 4-1 match, right?
Yes.
But at least this is different than if we were putting out an RFP for construction services or professional services. This is a grant application. So I would certainly like to see those submittals and rankings. Did they do orals also, Mr. Evans?
No, they just submit their written applications, and we'll provide all of that information directly to the board.
Okay.
Let
so-
the record reflect Mayor Feld is here. I'm sorry, I didn't say that earlier. All right, so you want to make a motion, Mr. McCoy?
I do, and I respectfully apologize. I just wanted to encompass that. I move that we postpone, and then we have the opportunity to review the submittals, evaluation, tabulation, and rankings of these grant applicants.
Postpone to what date? When? The next meeting?
Next meeting. Is that suitable, Mr. Evans?
Certainly.
All right, we'll have a second.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk,
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
you need your microphone.
Commissioner Lanier?
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel?
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries
Item number
with the
5?
changes.
Okay. Number 5?
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Riviera Beach Redevelopment Agency approving the interlocal agreement between the agency and Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council for TCRPC to provide certain services to the agency to update the 2011 CRA plan and for other professional services to implement redevelopment, directing and authorizing the chairman and executive director to take such actions as shall be necessary and consistent to carry out the intent and desire of the agency, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Evans.
Thank you. This interlocal agreement is with Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and they are the original drafters of our current CRA plan. And it includes both an update to the CRA plan and some special projects which will help us move forward and promote redevelopment and protect our waterways. The CRA plan has not been updated since 2011, and your approval tonight will implement a year-long comprehensive process to develop an update based on public workshops, stakeholder interviews, and working directly with the CRA board and the city staff to create an updated redevelopment vision that will include market and economic assessment and to create a new plan that's based on up-to-date market data. This positions the city better to take further steps to implement future-related zoning and land use. This will help our competitiveness as other cities nearby, including Lake Park and North Palm Beach, have gone through similar processes to enhance their marketability of their properties and the development potential. The project is part of the CRA's approved budget and work plan, and we're updating the plan to implement a new board vision and redevelopment goals, which is required by state statutes. It's required that all projects that we embark upon are included in our plan. The project would be funded out of our existing approved budget of $185,000, with the remaining $81,000 to be funded for work that would begin after October 1st, which is in the next fiscal year. And Kim Delaney is the Director of Strategic Development and Policy, and Tom Lanahan, the Executive Director from Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, are both here. And Kim will present a summary of the proposed projects, including details of the proposed scope of services.
Hello again. Good evening.
Good
Kim Delaney
evening.
from Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. And thank you for the opportunity to work again with the City of Riviera Beach. The council couldn't be happier to have a chance to assist the CRA as you go forward and look at the next 20, 30, and 40 years of redevelopment, which is really what the CRA plan is trying to anticipate. Pardon me. Is there a chance the presentation is going to pop up on the screen? There we go. I guess it's over here. So I have the briefest presentation of my life. Scott asked me to be very brief. Very hard for me. So that said, I have an overview for you of the 4 tasks that we've worked on with your staff to try to narrow down the work, but enable us to move quickly to address the market demands that you're already facing. The CRA, of course, as you let me see here. Sorry about that. There we go. So the Riviera Beach CRA is one of the hallmark CRAs in the state of Florida. It is extremely progressive and active at every scale, from helping individual homeowners, like your conversation tonight, helping individual business owners invest in their businesses and bring them up to speed and make them competitive, to some of the largest scale projects in the region, like the Marina and Ocean Mall. And so it's It's an agency that others really look to, frankly, and utilize your leadership in a number of areas to improve their own positions. And so this effort would give the city a chance and the CRA a chance to assess where it's been, what are your conditions today, and then how do you continue to reposition to be competitive going forward. There are 4 tasks that we've worked through with your staff that all layer, if you will, on one another. The first 3 would be able to start kind of more quickly and be concluded by really the first half of next year. The first one's looking at the Ocean Mall redevelopment project. Of course, the CRA is in the process of evaluating private proposals for the CRA-owned land. This effort would include an evaluation of that proposal to the CRA, as well as proposals that are in motion for other property owners adjacent to the mall. It would address parking and the maximum reasonable yield from those parcels considered collectively. Parking is, of course, a very big challenge in the Ocean Mall area. And so this effort would expressly look at solving parking both for those individual parcels as well as the Ocean Mall and develop a master plan for that area. So all the parcels make sense when they come online together. It includes an allocation for the council to bring in an economic sub-consultant to vet those proposals that you've received thus far. So we would have that information when we go out to the public. It includes a public workshop to give us a chance to do that visioning, and then drafting and developing a redevelopment concept for that area, which would be detailed in terms of uses, timing, scale, and sequencing of uses as they come online, and bring that back to the CRA board for approval. So that's kind of one piece, one project, if you will, and these are almost plug-and-play items. They would kind of plug into your larger-scale CRA plan, but it's our understanding that the CRA wants to move very quickly with the Ocean Mall project, so we've cut that one out to be able to work on that one immediately. The second task is looking at signage in what has been described as the core of the CRA. So the Broadway corridor and the Blue Heron corridor are the 2 really main corridors as you come into the heart of the CRA district. And so this effort would involve outreach to individual property owners to identify 8 properties that would be appropriately approached, if you will, to improve their signage. So when you wear a great suit, if you have a tie that doesn't match, the whole image is thrown off. And sometimes that's the challenge that we have with signage on individual properties. And it speaks volumes as folks travel the corridors in the CRA. And so this effort is similar to one that's been undertaken in other communities, which is focused expressly on signage. It would be designed to allow us to survey the corridors, identify candidate properties. Checking your tie, that's a good idea. Identify candidate properties, approach those property owners. Signage is very closely held, as the board members are aware, by individual owners. So it can be a subject of some delicacy. The idea would be to work with your staff and the community, and particularly those owners, to come up with a signage theme. In your presentation earlier, there was quite a significant variety in the type of signage that's proposed. Many CRAs like to try to find some consistency in the signage with colors and materials and the type of signage that's installed, because it creates kind of an overall theme, if you will. And so this effort would include identifying that general theme, maybe a palette of colors, if that's appropriate in the discussions as we learn from the business owners what their interests are. Working with a local sign vendor to actually develop signage concepts for the board's consideration, so before and afters for that signage, and also take a look at opportunities for some wayfinding signage, that kind of thematic signage that you find in communities that take you from the entry of the community to the marina, and to City Hall, and to the future train station, and to the Ocean Mall, and to the key destinations within the community. This effort would include the development of a grant program specific to signage that would become a part of your CRA plan. Earlier this evening, you were reviewing proposals from the commercial revitalization grant program. This would be geared specifically to signage. And different CRAs have different approaches. In some communities, signage is so important, those communities say, we're going to go 100% and get some signage changed quickly, because 100% grant funding doesn't come around often, and that tends to generate a lot of motivation on the part of private property owners who may not otherwise consider changing their signage. And so it's a very attractive carrot, because there are no sticks with signage when you approach signage in most communities. And so it would include, again, the development of a grant program. All of that work would come back to the CRA board with individual, ideally 8 individual properties designed with new signage and cost estimates for what that signage would require, a signage theme for the CRA, a wayfinding theme for the CRA, and then a grant program that could, again, at a higher level of funding and be ramped down over time as new signage starts to come online. So that's a second piece of work. Again, it would be able to move very quickly. We understand there's a lot of desire to address signage, especially in the core part of the district. And this program is designed in that way, to be able to move separately from the larger CRA plan work, which is going to take more time just by the nature of that type of process. The third program is looking at the water quality conditions in and around the CRA, particularly affecting, of course, the marina, the viability of future redevelopment for all of the waterfront parcels, and the value the waterfront has as a resource that's conveyed upon the land. There are some recent tough headlines dealing with the water quality conditions in and around, for example, Phil Foster Park. So, and this program is designed to work in concert with the city, and we've already reached out to city staff to begin that coordination effort to enable the CRA to take a leadership role in addressing stormwater quality issues in this basin. Stormwater quality is tough, and when redevelopment occurs, there's a requirement to address a minimum amount of stormwater treatment, so the stormwater quality entering the lagoon is cleaner, and then there's opportunities to go above that. And so this effort would be designed to identify all of the stormwater treatment work that's underway today and what else could be done to improve the conditions. It makes the city very competitive for grant dollars. So part of the effort would not only be identifying at a conceptual level the types of projects that would improve the conditions, but also identify the grant funding opportunities the CRA and or the city could get in line for. There's a sequence of grant funding, and those grants land over time. And so the idea would be a 10-year program that would have the city positioned with projects ready to go as grant dollars become available over time. Again, this one is broken out because it is our understanding that it is a project that has kind of a quicker fuse, if you will, and a higher level of impact, especially considering the redevelopment proposals that are underway now that deal directly with the waterway. We've also already reached out to Mr. Sprague, who's working on a mooring field. So we understand the timing and the sequence and the activities related to the mooring field. This effort would incorporate the mooring field as part of it. Mooring fields are actually a direct stormwater quality improvement because boats aren't leaking bilges and are pumping out, and there's a better regulatory condition for what's taking place in the waterway. And so this effort would incorporate that and enable the CRA to assist in advancing that effort as well. And then the fourth and the largest scale component of the work, oh gosh, sorry about that. There we go. And the fourth component would be these 3 individual activities being rolled into the larger scale CRA plan update, which your director mentioned earlier. There's a statutory requirement to update your plan to ensure the plan reflects the existing conditions, frankly acknowledges the good work that's taken place, and then is positioned to enable the CRA to continue to remain compliant with state statute and create the types of incentives and investments that CRAs are designed to do. And so this effort would include a large-scale CRA plan update process with a public workshop, a design component to that to allow the community to develop a new vision, and then bring back a full assessment of how the CRA programs and projects have been doing, where they may need to be modified to address new conditions, and it would include a full market and economic analysis as part of that effort to be able to help inform how the CRA prioritizes its investments and can better understand what to expect the market to bring to you as a board. And so those are the 4 individual pieces. I probably took more time than I was supposed to, but it's a complex series of projects. I should mention, in discussions with your director, we've also reached out to the Palm Beach TPA. And so as Councilmember Lanier would be aware, the Regional Planning Council has an existing long-standing relationship with the TPA where our services are provided to communities for projects that are directly related to transportation. And so we've designed the CRA plan update in a manner to allow you to pull in TPA dollars. And so part of the CRA plan would include what we would call a mobility plan, And that would be all the transportation improvements kind of packaged together that's designed in a way to make it easy for the TPA to fund our work in that effort. So it's a way to leverage some of the CRA dollars to bring in the Regional Planning Council as a resource, because we're a public resource in that way, and stretch your dollars out further. The TPA gets a deliverable out of that, which is a chapter, if you will, of your CRA plan. It would be the mobility portion of your CRA plan. And then the rest of that plan document, of course, would address all the other things that need to be addressed in a CRA plan. And so I'm happy to answer questions if there are any. Mr. Lanahan is here as well, of course, our executive director, if you have questions for him.
Okay. Do we have any public comment cards?
We have 2 public comment cards.
All right, let's go to public comment cards.
Bonnie Larson, followed by Mary Bram.
Forgot I put one in for that, Bonnie Larson. But anyway, while we're on the subject, I don't know what the CRA has to do with water quality. We have a water utility department, so I don't know how the CRA is going to. That seems like that's a city problem. So that's all I've got to say, since I forgot I put a card in. Thank you.
All right.
Mary Bram.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Mary Bram, Riviera Beach. I agree that the CRA should be incorporated with the water qualities of our city as well, because as I've said, that the CRA is the city of Riviera Beach. So what goes on this side here definitely impacts the CRA. I've had a very productive meeting with Mr. Scott Evans on yesterday. So when I come back in here, I expect for some of those things to be done. I totally agree with the signage. I would like to see a unified signage in the CRA. We have those wooden sticks with those dilapidated, discolored signs that in our CRA business district. And I also would like to see that, I'm in total agreement with that also. She made mention about the Treasure Coast. Okay, welcome on board, Treasure Coast. I've worked with you all before. I have numerous charrette plans from the Treasure Coast. So hopefully this time we can make those plans fruition into what we want them to be. Because we go through this over and over again, getting the community involved, and we input our ideas, and somehow they get kind of sidekicked, and then you come in with something else. So if we are to engage as a community stakeholder, you must consider our input on how we would want to. We're not saying that your vision is not our vision, but it's also that we can always add something else in there to make it work. She also, I was just looking at her chart back there, where she did say that we will have 2 public workshops. Is that minimal from what you're trying to do? Do you think that 2 is convenient for we as a community to get involved in? So I think more or less as we progress, if they take what we say, that's 1 workshop, okay, and they're going to bring it back to the board. So it is always some things that we have to iron out and hash out. So I don't know whether we should really have just 2 workshops. So welcome aboard, Charette, again. Everybody's laughing. Hope that we can continue to work together.
Thank you.
Move us forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have any comments from the board?
Madam Chair,
Yes, and then Mr. Lawson.
I am hopeful that we will be coordinating the work of the CRA with whatever plans the city might have. Our recently returned Jonathan Evans, pay attention, has had conversations, I know, with Mr. Evans Mr. Scott Evans about the need to coordinate the effort of the CRA with the effort of the city in developing the city's comprehensive plan. So I'm hopeful that those two will dovetail and maybe save some money in the process, because we were looking at the same city after all. I think I'd like to quote one of my favorite people, Miss Mary Bram, who just said, the CRA is the city. So we want to take that into account. I'm very happy that we'll be looking at water quality, not the drinking water, but the water that we attract so many tourists from up north to come and see. And we've been talking most recently with our own police department about eliminating the number of derelict boats that we have in and around Peanut Island and around the Blue Heron Bridge. We are finally, I'm happy to report, going to be tagging those derelict boats. We haven't done that for a good many months since our legal department stopped requiring our police to do that, but those days are now over. Again, we will be tagging derelict boats and at-risk boats, because there's a difference once again. So I'm happy to say that that's going to be happening. And welcome aboard, Treasure Coast. Thank you.
Ms. Lawson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in full support of moving forward with the interlocal agreement. What I would like to see is we go forward with it, but possibly adding an amendment to it at a later date to begin the expansion of the CRA district, to possibly including our City Hall campus, inlets, and Wells Gym. So if we can extend those boundaries, it would allow for us to do some of the programming and planning that we spoke about at the P3 planning meeting on Monday, and have that encompassed in actually moving forward with working with the CRA, developing our campus, and using some of those P3 opportunities to actually develop with the CRA. So if we can, Mr. Evans, possibly look at those options of expanding the CRA boundary to include that campus, the City Hall, Wells, and maybe Inlet, then we could really use some of the CRA TIF funds to be able to progress forward.
I know a few years back that was looked into. It was not received very well with Park Manor Neighborhood Association area for various reasons. And so I know that would need to be, addressed and revisited to see if those sentiments are still the same, because that would basically incorporate part of that area. And I think we were also looking at expanding the Riviera Beach Heights part. That was part of that conversation as well. So that would be something to see. I agree with you in terms of seeing how we can make that happen. That would be perfect if we could do that. But I know there's a little sensitivity there, so that would just need to be addressed. And it's been 3-4 years, so you have to just see what the temperature in the community is for that as well.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I would probably just want to see what would be the reasons or hesitations to expanding that boundary, and if necessary, just encompassing just our campus, because our goal would be to utilize the development. So if we don't include Park Manor, if it's such an issue within the residents, to develop our City Hall, to develop our Wells Gym, to develop the campus, the Inlet Grove, or Inlet, and then allow for us to utilize the city and the CRA to partner together.
Okay, sounds good.
So expanding that boundary.
All right. Anyone else? Yes.
Madam Chair, questions for Treasure Coast. So are you guys currently working with either Lake Park, North Palm, or West Palm along the US 1 corridor for any kind of?
We're working with North Palm Beach right now on implementing a village master plan that we developed with the village of North Palm Beach about 2 years ago. They're looking at reducing the width of US 1 from 6 lanes to 4. And so we're in the process now of completing the evaluation so the village can consider narrowing it from 6 to 4 lanes. That would be from about Yacht Club Drive north to North Lake. And then it's already 4 lanes from North Lake into Lake Park. We just finished some work with the town of Lake Park where the CRA asked us to come in and do a marketing and branding assessment. That work's been completed. They're implementing that now and looking for developers for the marina property and some other parcels downtown. So we've completed that work. We're not currently working with them on that anymore. And then in West Palm Beach, we are just assisting as a public agency the city of West Palm as it's trying to find dollars to change the character of Broadway from the northern Riviera Beach city limits up into Northwood. And so you might be familiar, the city did a lot of work trying to rethink that corridor. Hazinga's coming in, and there's a large-scale redevelopment effort that's taking place to the east. So we're not working on the planning side of that. We're just assisting them as an agency. And then on the other side of West Palm Beach, we did finish a plan for South Dixie Highway, which is really kind of the extension of US 1 up in that other section, to go from 4 lanes to 3. And the city's in the process of implementing that now. So we're assisting them just as a public agency, but we're not actively engaged working in the city on that project at this point.
So North Palm Beach, is that just limited to the transportation aspect?
It is at this point, yeah. We've already finished the village master plan.
In Lake Park, it was just branding and marketing, did you say?
Lake Park was an economic analysis of the CRA district. Living in Riviera Beach, you're highly familiar with the challenges that have existed with Lake Park's redevelopment effort, kind of getting off the starting line. And so that project, and the reports are all available on our website, by the way. And so I'm happy to forward the links. In fact, I'll be sure to forward the links for all of that work to your executive director so he can send them to you all as a board. So in Lake Park, we did a market and economic assessment to kind of understand what the rents were like and what are the opportunities for redevelopment in a very small downtown that's not easy to find. Right? So those are two different types of challenges.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. So
Yep.
was that limited to Park Avenue, or did that extend along US 1
The
corridor?
whole CRA district, which doesn't make it to US 1. The Lake Park CRA doesn't make it out to US 1.
But you mentioned the Lake Park Marina, which is abuts US 1.
Correct. So part of the discussion looked at the market demand for hotel and residential in the larger area, which is the entire city of Lake Park. Even though the work was requested by the CRA, the analysis included the entire city, really in like a regional snapshot. What's the demand that you have as a community? What can you go after? And so what they found was demand for a hotel. The town has used that information to market the marina property. That effort was moving on its own path, if you will. The US 1 redesign, which was zoning and land use changes on US 1, that work was separate from the work that we did for the town of Lake Park, which was focused in their CRA district. So we looked at rehabilitation programs, opportunities to bring in younger residents, ways to improve the housing stock. That was a big focus for the town of Lake Park. Some WeWork opportunities in the heart of the Park Avenue corridor. Some grant programs for them as well. So they're slightly different activities.
Mr. Evans, can our scope include an economic analysis of our US 1 corridor? Because, I mean, clearly, nobody in Riviera Beach doesn't know that Broadway right now is probably over half marine industry or in and around Broadway. But certainly I don't want to be so tied down to the marine industry that, we miss an opportunity, because I knew specifically that Lake Park Marina was interested at US 1 and Silver Beach Road in doing a wellness spa and resort. And I know that there was some conversations, and what I would like to see if, that economic analysis be extended to at least, I would like to say the whole US 1, and I would kind of leave that to staff's a little more detailed in thought on that. But certainly, if there is any kind of continuity of, because quite honestly, unless you're from Lake Park or Riviera Beach, you don't know when you cross from one city to the next. So if there's an opportunity for some continuity, or for us to kind of model some of the zoning if it's right associated with it.
Yeah, and this study will include the economic analysis of
Okay.
the US 1 corridor, yes.
Okay. And I did see the stages up there, but do you have a rough time frame on, I've seen 2020, but do we take these back piecemeal, or do we see this as one conglomerate CRA plan?
This really is going to drive further work that will be coordinated with the city, which will result in the recommendations from the economic analysis and from the CRA plan update will inform future land use and zoning changes that would go to the city, and we anticipate coordinating with the city on that work also. The current time frame for all of the work that's been discussed today is about 1 year. So it would be actually a little bit more than 1 year. I believe it ends in September, October.
Right.
But then in that time frame, we would be implementing the land use and zoning changes. So it's about an 18-month total project from start to finish.
So can you have us, not necessarily at a meeting, but I guess it would have to be at a meeting if this is going to be later to be adopted by us, some sort of quarterly updates?
Oh, yes,
There are a number.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
We will in fact, Treasure Coast will come and give the board updates. And we have a variety of public workshops that are built into the implementation plan. And following those, we'll have them come and give the board an update on our progress.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Items tabled.
None.
All right. Public comment. Public comment should be restricted to issues, matters, or topics pertinent to the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Please be reminded that the CRA Board of Commissioners has adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the entrance of the council chambers. In an effort to preserve order, if any other rules are not adhered to, the commission chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting and/or building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly.
Bonnie Larson, followed by Mary Bram and Doretta Polk.
I just want to remind everyone of our 3-minute clock there to please wrap it up before it expires. Thank you.
Bonnie Larson, 3 minutes is never enough, never.
I know.
Okay, okay, so I'll talk fast. There's a burned-down house on East 27th Street. It's been there for 4 or 5 years. I brought it up to the code department, and they said, oh, he was in jail, you know. He's going to build a fourplex on there, so not to worry about it. I saw today it's still there. It's all burnt out. There's junk inside. The kids could hurt themselves there. There could be dealings going on in there. It's right off US 1. It's about the third or fourth house on the right, on the south side. The scoring, yeah, I'm going to leave that till next time because I have a few points on the scoring of those things. Oh, we're hiring someone for the community garden, if you can tell us about that. I thought we already had a guy there, and now I see there's another application out to hire someone at the community garden. And the porters, I didn't understand what that was last time we talked about it, and we hired a porter, and I was told that they are the guys who come in from midnight till 6 in the morning or whatever and clean up around the marina. It's dark down there at that time, so I don't know how they're cleaning up. But they were also supposed to clean the inside of the event center, I was told. Now I see there's another listing for a hiring of a porter. So if you could explain what happened to the first people and what's going on there with the second round of questions. The marina sign, there might be a trouble with the lighting on the marina sign because I haven't seen it on the last couple times I've gone by there. Right on US 1, it's not lit up anymore when I've gone by anyway. Okay. Podium chairs. Podium chairs. If we could leave this aisle here blank next time and have our court reporter's got to be right here, but if she could maybe be there or something, because it's real congested in this area, and you're talking, sometimes there are people like breathing down your neck. They're sitting right here. So we could move those chairs a little bit. Also, on those, the money that we're giving or thinking about giving to various businesses throughout the city, I talked about this before, 1530, that's owned by Gerald Properties. That's owned by Viking. Viking charges $11,000 a month for parking at the marina. They charge us for everything. We have done so many things for Viking. Now we're going to give them a mural. And I'm wondering, why are we doing that? It's Gerald Properties. Viking operates under about 4 or 5 different names, but we should be aware of what they are. Underground utilities. With the Treasure Coast. I hate to think how many years ago we had that first charrette with Treasure Coast. But the one picture they kept showing us was the underground utilities. And here we are years and years later. I know we paid to have Broadway reviewed from Blue Heron South and then from Blue Heron North, but nothing has happened. And that's been many, many years. So what are we doing with that? When is that going to take place? The porters. Just running out of time. I can't think here fast. I have Dairy Bell written. Oh, Dairy Bell. Oh, yeah. Dairy
Thank
Bell.
you, Ms. Larson.
There's an accident waiting to happen there.
Thank you.
Mary Bram, followed by Doretta Polk.
Hi, Hi, Miss Mary
Good
Brown. They're really
evening.
making me laugh back there. But, sometimes I have to disagree with Bonnie. I like the court reporter right here. She needs to be off to herself so she can also understand you and get every word that you're saying as well as we speak. Because sometimes, you know, we get muddy a little bit. But I must say, since this is on the side, on Sunday, we had such a jubilant time. And thanks to Dr. Botel, the city council, Mayor, you missed that one. You know how that saying that says, everybody laid it on the floor. Except for Miss Brown now, except for Miss Brown. So everybody just had a wonderful time in welcoming our new city manager, Mr. Jonathan Evans, and the crowd was in. They just kept coming in. They had to put chairs in. The food was good. I have to give Miss Lawson, see, I'm coming back to pick her up. I have to give Miss Lawson that compliment. She bought this watermelon, and she had it carved out in a dolphin bowl. And she had so much delicious fruit in there. So everybody was just lovely. I always tell them that I get jealous because I can't do that little line thing because my feet get tangled up. But I'm going to learn it. Okay, I know that you, as a board, represent both sides. I would like for you to take into consideration, I know what we're trying to do, establish the speaking components with the various residents as well as non-residents. I've always said, see, I am out there totally. Everyone knows Miss Bram lives in the city of Riviera Beach. I really have really horrific things that people's like to track me, follow me, and do all these crazy things. So however you may come up with a solution, perhaps we can present our water bill or either our telephone bill or something like that to show proof of residence. But I really would like for you all to think out of the box because sometimes I'm speaking about Ms. Brown. I know. Yesterday, I was at 3 meetings on yesterday. So, you know, it was kind of a good meeting, but, you know, it was a setting there that everybody wants my telephone number or my address or something like that. You know, I've always said, it is crazy people's out there. You all be hounded yourselves. So I'm asking the board to think out ways in which that we can come here and just show them our light bill or our water bill.
Thank you. All right. Who's next?
Doretta Polk.
Good evening. My name is Doretta Polk. I reside in Riviera Beach. I was sitting home looking at the little CRA meeting, and I saw where 163 20th Street, they're getting help with it's a church, and I live not even one block from that area, and I had, wanted to see if I can get my house painted, and I was denied, saying I wasn't even in the area that the CRA does. But this church is on the same street as mine, and one house away is Mrs. Polk. So there's something kind of in error about this. So if you can look at the maps again. And I want to say that was a very good comment that Mr. Trajan McCoy made about the volunteers being come and added to your volunteer picnic, because I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Dawson, Dolores Dawson, and Mrs. Matthews. They do a wonderful job with the children all year round, and they're still doing it. So I think they should be also, that group, Concerned Mothers, West Side Coalition, they should be added to the list. If you can contact them, if you don't mind, because they do an awesome job with our children. Another thing I want to mention about is that, God, it just left me just that quick. Speaking of Miss Bram, she knows how to really dance. She was at the DJ booth dancing her little heart out. I don't know why she didn't come out on the floor, but don't let her fool you, because she knows how to dance. You were at the oh yeah, you were there.
All right, let's stay this
So anyway, one other serious matter. Mr. Dennis at the garden. Bonnie mentioned that maybe you're hiring somebody else for that. He did an enormous job, very wonderful job, because Mrs. Dawson, which I volunteer sometimes, we took the children out there. He explained seeding, he explained planting, and everything, the soil and everything, very important points that he brought out to the children. So if someone's looking to replace him, maybe I'm mistaken, he's a valuable employee, very valuable. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the end of public comment?
Yes, Madam
All
Chair.
right, Mr. Evans, if you have any responses at this time?
We do have, I think, several clean and safe positions that are open, and some of our clean and safe ambassadors work in the garden. They also work on Marina Village's porters, so that may be why Ms. Larson had seen some of those job positions open. We will definitely follow up to make sure that our marina sign is working. Let's see, just going down my list. Dennis, who is our chief gardener at the 10th Street property, along with Chris, who is our master gardener. They're both continuing to work for us, and they're both doing a great job. So the reference to community gardener, I think, would just be that we're hiring ambassadors who also work occasionally in the garden. And we will follow up and review those area maps to make sure that an error wasn't made related to that homeowner. Thank you.
All right. Do you have a report from the executive director? Anything to add?
Nothing to add, Madam Chair.
All right. Report of general counsel?
I have nothing to add.
We'd like to hear your voice. Discussion of the board. We'll start with Commissioner Botel.
Just a quick note about the League of Cities lunch today. We had a very good presentation from the assistant administrator from on the redevelopment of downtown West Palm Beach, Mr. Rick Green. I asked him to send me a copy of his PowerPoint, and he did, and I shared it with Mr. Jonathan Evans so that we could take a look at what they're doing in West Palm. They're collecting, where's my note? Over $1 million a month in building permit revenue. So I think there's maybe something to be learned from that. And just a quick note about tomorrow evening from 5 to 8 p.m. My Workforce Development Task Force is sponsoring a construction trades and building maintenance event, so people can come in and learn about carpentry, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and welding, and the opportunities being provided by the Florida Training Services and also our youth empowerment. And there's the flyer. It's on the Facebook page. That's it.
All right. Commissioner McCoy.
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lanier.
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Issa Allen with Couch Time with E. Last night we had an amazing turnout here. We had a mental health open forum here in the community for minorities for mental health, and it's actually being played on Channel 18, so if anybody wants to go back and watch it again, it's online. We had about 50, 60 residents that came, and it was a safe zone to just be able to open to discuss. And our goal is to continue to expand upon this mental health forum that we've been growing and building, do it over the next couple months, and then develop a program where we can actually provide free services to residents within the community for mental health. I also want to announce that we have our part 2 of When They See Us. That is going to be at Tate's Gym at 6 p.m. on Thursday. We moved it inside just for weather. We're looking like it's going to be either really hot or a lot of rain. So either way, we're going to be inside the gym. We're going to do part 2. Last time we had about 200 residents that came out to the event. Thank you, colleagues that came and supported. A lot of department heads were there. It was an amazing event. We will be doing it again. I didn't even know Mr. Evans had a jumper that he could play basketball. So it was a good event, guys. Jonathan Evans, guys. But make sure you guys please come out to the event. It's a great event. It's a community conversation talking about community policing, talking about anti-bullying, talking about the justice system. We have therapists, judges, attorneys that will be there to speak on the panel discussion. So thank you, Board.
All right. Mayor Felder, did you have anything?
No comments.
All right. I just had a question regarding the ambassador picking up palm fronds and different things along the highway. I noticed some were picking up the trash along 13th, and of course I have no problems with them doing it. But as I mentioned to Jonathan Evans, in regards to the responsibility, the overlap of responsibilities in terms of public works and who is supposed to be doing that, because I just don't want it to be I don't want the public works to have to. It's a bigger conversation, I think. But if we could just kind of work together in terms of who is going to do those roles and responsibilities, because I don't want it to force a lacking on the other side. So if we can just kind of coordinate together and determine who's going to do certain areas and in that way, that's mainly my concern, just the overlapping of getting it done or not knowing who is supposed to be doing it. And that's really all that I have. If there are no other comments from anyone, we stand adjourned, and we do have our budget workshop. We will start at 7:25 according to that clock. We stand adjourned. I'd like to call to order the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency Budget Workshop, July 24, 2019, 7:32 p.m. Madam Roll Call.
Commissioner Lawson,
Here.
Commissioner Lanier,
Present.
Commissioner McCoy,
Here.
Vice Chair Botel,
Here.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Here.
Also present, Scott Evans, Interim Executive Director, Mayor Felder, and Michael Haygood, General Counsel.
All right, we'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Lawson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 4, discussion by the Executive Director.
Tonight's is our second budget workshop, and we've been adding our budget workshops to the end of our CRA meetings, as I know this board has multiple meetings between the City Council Utility District. So tonight we've selected our Department of Neighborhood Services, and the director is Anita Jenkins. She's also the Executive Director of the Riviera Beach CDC, and she'll present neighborhood services budget projects and programs that we're proposing, the ones that we've both completed this year, that we propose to continue into next year, and a few new initiatives. Anita?
You got it.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners and
Good
Mayor.
evening.
Mr. Evans, thank you for this opportunity to come and talk about neighborhood services. We hope that you'll be pleased with the progress that we have so far this year and that you will look excitingly forward to ideas that we have for the next year. The Neighborhood Services Group is endeavoring, along with everyone else at the CRA and the commissioners we know, to develop a true sense of place here in Riviera Beach. We believe that this is the place to be. Our strategic partners in helping us to do this are, of course, the City of Riviera Beach, and there are various departments that we work very closely with, the Riviera Beach CDC, the Riviera Beach Housing Authority. We have various community partners, our neighborhood and civic associations, our local contractors, small businesses, and you'll hear from a few of those tonight, our lending community. We have a good relationship with Palm Beach County with different departments, with our realtors and developers. We are looking at our approach to neighborhood services in 2 buckets. One is a place-based asset building strategic direction. And we're rebranding what we're doing and calling it Neighborhood Reclaim, which is an umbrella for this strategic approach. And to just explain what the acronym means, R for revitalized community, E, we believe that it should be energy efficient. C, of course, everything that we do is community oriented. L, livable and sustainable, because we want to make sure that we're using our resources wisely. A, it should be attractive and desirable. And I, innovative. M, we want to maximize the opportunity, not just maximize in terms of leveraging dollars, but relationships and the scarce resources that we have here in the city. And we think by taking this approach that we'll be meeting the triple bottom line, that we'll be looking at the financial aspects, the social aspects, and making sure that it is equitable. Now, some of the strategies are looking at acquisition of vacant lots for residential, small commercial properties for redevelopment and rehabilitation. We have quite a few of those in our community. And thereafter, those properties will be available for ownership, rental, or a rent-to-own scenario. And this program would allow us to approach our property development in a more comprehensive manner while we're looking holistically at community development. And here you see some of the logos of our strategic partnerships that will assist us in this neighborhood service delivery. And I think you'll recognize most, if not all, of those. Some of our activities you've heard about a couple of weeks ago when the Clean and Safe program was presented. And we're excited about our Smart Home program. And just to reiterate, it includes our Smart Water Kits, which we've had some great success in Riviera Beach Heights and Park Manor in distributing those and assisting our homeowners. Smoke alarms. We've installed some smoke alarms in Riviera Beach Heights, and we have requests to expand that into other neighborhoods, smoke alarms that are more durable. Our Neighborhood Watch program, we now have several initiatives within the CRA, and it has inspired other groups to meet and to collaborate outside of the CRA. Our Neighborhood Social Network, making sure that our neighbors are connected in case of emergency. Uniform street addresses. Our code enforcement officers have told us that there are a number of homes that don't have uniform street numbers on the homes, that it makes it difficult from a safety standpoint. And we want to introduce this year the Ring Wi-Fi video doorbell, which is very popular and affordable for those who have access to a smartphone and Wi-Fi. Exterior and motion sensor lights, something as simple as that could assist in making our neighborhoods safer in individual homes. And yard and window signage, because it has been proven in Riviera Beach Heights that with the smart water signs, we believe it deters criminal activity. Under our house,
a question. It has, you believe, and it has been proven. Which is it?
We've demonstrated it. I don't want to state facts because the numbers we have from crime statistics are a little dated. We're in the process of updating them. We've had some difficulty in getting more recent crime stats.
Okay. So I just didn't. You said two things that are
empirical data.
Opposites.
Yes.
They're definitely opposites. You said we believe and it's proven.
I believe, and several years ago we proved it, and now Rod is sitting behind me. Where?
Let me finish, Ms. Jenkins. Based on the signs.
Yes.
So the signs itself, you have something that proves that that has lowered crime.
What we have is we can't prove it so much as we were tracking the level of crime that was happening in the neighborhood before and after we implemented some of these pilot programs. So one of them was to put signs up and then to distribute smart water to over 200 residents. And then the sign represents that smart water is in this neighborhood. And that what we did track from one year to the next after doing that was that the level of criminal activity and police incidents had gone down the next year. What we don't have is proof that it was specifically related to that smart water, but it was a very positive trend, and that's a positive thing to do in the neighborhood. So we do feel that it contributed to that decrease in crime, but we cannot prove that specifically. It's because of that.
Okay, I thought so, because I was going to say if that's the case, we need to order a bunch of signs and just put them all across the city. But I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had to go in on that one, Ms. Jenkins. My apologies.
Thank you for making me be more precise. And we look forward to bringing you updated information in collaboration with our police department at a future date.
Thank you.
And I'll be happy to provide you with some information about smart water in particular because our county sheriff's department has adopted the program and Boynton has used it very successfully for a few years.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Under the housing and neighborhood stabilization and in that toolkit, again, we'll be looking at real estate acquisition and development with various housing initiatives that I'll talk about a little bit more later. Our resident services, and you heard some of the residents reference our community garden and our house-by-house program, our parks, trails, and signs, our youth and recreation programs, and our various community partnerships. With these place-based asset building strategies, we talked about Smart Home. Under the Single Family Housing Beautification Program, which addresses needs for single-family, one-unit homeowners to make exterior improvements to their properties. We want to add, going forward, more in-depth, the first-time home buyer workforce program, down payment and housing rehabilitation assistance to assist those first-time home buyers who are interested in purchasing a single-family home. And one of the strategies will be for the CRA to acquire derelict properties and vacant land for demolition and reconstruction. And one interesting innovation that we introduced at the beginning of this year that we want to move forward with, because there is a need and some demand for it, is the workforce rent-to-own program, where title will not transfer until the buyer has repaired credit, completed the home buyers club, increased income, and/or saved adequate minimum down payment dollars. Some of our housing goals, if you approve the budget that we'll bring back to you with detail, will be for the house-by-house program. We project we can do 15 homes in the coming year. In our first-time home buyer program, we could assist up to 13 home buyers. With our rent-to-own program, we could assist 2 families in that program. With our rehabilitation program, we could assist 25 homes, housing beautification, 10 properties, and be able to acquire various parcels through our property acquisition program. And there you see a picture of one of the finished homes within the CRA. Our community garden program is very popular. We have our main garden at 1010 West 10th Street. Through the CDC, we work with the Lindsay Davis Seniors Club there. There is technical assistance provided to children at the Boys and Girls Club, and in partnership with the CDC, assistance at Lincoln Elementary, and their support to the Children's Prosperity Garden that's right at 6th and Australian. And with our program expansion, there are volunteers who are working on I believe the name of the working title is the Ocean Park Community Garden, and that will be coming soon on Singer Island. Some of you came out to our inaugural Neighborhood Day last month. It was very well set up and organized. We were rained out, but not before we were able to share information with the residents. And we'll continue working on our green space with our parks, trails, and signs. Under the House by House program, and this is a program that we've worked with code enforcement, we provided free house painting for primarily elders and the disabled. We do various neighborhood cleanups on a regular basis, and our next cleanup will be on September 21st with an International Coastal Cleanup Program. We'll be at the marina. We assist with landscaping and sprinkler repairs where there is great demand for that, not only in the CRA, but outside of the CRA. And unfortunately, we're not able to assist everyone. And also with beautifying the neighborhood with flower planting. And so far, in 2019, we've completed 6 homes, and we have 10 planned for a major volunteer effort also on September 21st. So mark your calendars. We'll look forward to you coming out and assisting us. Our various neighborhood investment tools are there, and under our housing beautification program, for instance, we have completed so far 5 residences totaling about $90,000, and one of them was featured in Florida Trend, the Perkins home. And we have 8 residences that are currently under construction in various stages. And you see some pictures of a before and after, and of just a beautiful exterior painting and landscaping job within the CRA. Just to recap, just a few pictures to illustrate some of the work that we're doing with those various tools. And I'd like to turn your attention to our people-based asset building strategies. One of the main ones is support to the CDC for organizational support to assist with various programs through the neighborhood with housing and economic development services. Our homebuyer counseling program, I know that some of you are familiar with that, where we provide the 8-hour certification, but also classes on a monthly basis where potential first-time homebuyers come out and learn the various aspects of owning a home. And our next class will start on August 29th, and just last month we graduated 31 residents through the program. So we're very pleased with that. And one that I'll be highlighting tonight is our Small Business Certification Readiness Training Program that we call the Comerica Bank Small Business Resource Center. You see those pictures there, and that is a very, very excited and happy family who closed on their home a few months ago, and it's a beautiful home just a couple of blocks from here. The Sapp family who went through our Home Buyers Club and the First Time Homebuyer Program in cooperation with Palm Beach County. And he is also a city employee. We have various economic development, entrepreneurship, and technology tools, and they are the Small Business Program, our Stream 3 Creativity Station, and we have a description for our microloan fund program that we hope we're able to bring that forward in the next year or so. What's next with those two are our business workshop series will begin again on September 24th, and our winter break camp for Creativity Station is already scheduled, if you approve the funding, to support it, along with the CDC's dollars that they'll bring to the table on December 30th at the end of this year. Under Creativity Station, which is a CDC program with some support from the CRA, just to tell you some of the exciting things that the kids did this summer already, they were able to appear on air and meet arguably the most notable DJ in the country, Tom Joyner. They were on air with him and were able to have a talk and be encouraged and inspired by him. They've had workshops, one with an internationally known author, Dwayne Bryant, on leadership training. Our Global Biz kids visited a stock brokerage after they learned the ins and outs of money and investment and savings. They were able to fly drones at the Dreyer Park Aviation Port. They had visits from different entrepreneurs. Mrs. Sweets came out and talked about her journey to become a young entrepreneur. And they had quite a summer with planes, trains, buses, and automobiles. They went to see rocket ships at the Kennedy Space Center. They were able to partake of our waterfront with fishing and snorkeling with our community boating program. They had lessons in public speaking. They visited the Apple store to learn digital imaging. They had an art workshop at the Norton, visited a vintage car restoration place to see that in progress. And one of the most fun experiences they had, and this was so cute, was seeing the kids in their scrubs at JFK, just testing some of the robotic equipment and seeing simulated operations and talking with the surgeons and the administrators there. And they were able to bring their little bag of stuff home from the hospital, including their own personal scrubs. They were disposable scrubs, though. And they've had life skills training, and every day the children were encouraged to do daily journaling, essays, and various presentations. And you see some of the pictures, including Mr. Joyner, and just great pictures of the kids in action. with our continuing with the Creativity Station program for the coming year, we would like to bring in the Curtology Institute, which is a leadership motivation program for children with support and partnership with Dwayne Wade's nonprofit. And one of the most exciting things is we'd like to be able to bring to this community a blues camp for the winter camp to encourage our kids to know about the history of the blues, to practice with their instruments, and to have daily concerts with a culminating concert, we hope, at the marina. So we're just really looking forward to that. And this camp will be modeled after one that is very successful with the National Blues Foundation in Chicago and other cities. We want to bring it here for our children. Some of the additional activities, and you see the offerings, will be something called Can You Dig It? Adventures in Dirt, Standing Ovation, which is art-based, The Science of the Sea, Art Adventure, and the children would attend an archaeology camp. And you see one of the campers testing out a helicopter. He didn't fly it, but he was able to experience that. And I forgot the name of the football player. I'm not a football person, but I understand he's a $140,000 man who participates with the camp. Some pictures of the children, potentially from the blues camp, our children here in Riviera Beach. And our implementation schedule, you'll see that we had a winter camp in December and January, with spring break, summer camp, and we'll end the year with our winter camp starting in December. Our next strategy is around our Business Resource Center. This is a program, and this is the third session that we've offered, where we have weekly classes, individual sessions are offered. Our presenters were experts. The participants receive voluminous materials, a great networking opportunity, and Shark Tank. We ended with the Shark Tank experience. Out of the graduates who attended, there was 100% participation, and they were able, some of them brought in their various products to share. You see some of the pictures there. And the gentleman in the middle is the national executive with Comerica Bank who flew in for this offering. Our schedule there and our various partners. So with that, I'd like to stop. And if you can give me another 5 minutes, I'd like to share a video that wraps up our business program. And I'd like to introduce the facilitator for the program. And we have several of our Riviera Beach entrepreneurs who came just to say hello to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Andre.
No, for real. You get it.
How long is the video?
It's about 4 minutes.
The Business Readiness Certification Training, sponsored by Comerica Bank, was presented by Consolidated Credit in partnership with the City of Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency to give local small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups the knowledge, the tools, and the resources to build a sound and successful enterprise. The attendees learned how to create a business plan, about legal and accounting principles, about marketing and, of course, how to utilize social media. They learn about alternative financing and how to do business with local government. At Consolidated Credit, we believe that when we educate, promote, and strengthen small businesses, we empower the individuals, their families, and the community. We thank all the presenters and congratulate the graduates. Thank you.
My name is Anita Jenkins. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Services for the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. I connect residents to opportunities, and this class is one of the best examples that I could think of that does that. Working at the CRA, we're focused on economic development, and with economic development, we should be fostering small business. I think this program is important because we do things on a grassroots level. I think that if you come back here in 5 years, when we have shiny new buildings, when we have revitalized neighborhoods, that you will see a vibrant small business core.
Well, I'm Irvin Ashford Jr., Senior Vice President of External Affairs for Comerica Bank. I happen to also be the National Director of Financial Education for Comerica. I think programs in Riviera Beach are necessary, and I think it's good for the community. America is in the business of helping people be successful. That also includes helping people be successful in small business and financial education. So this program is very appropriate for not only Comerica but for the neighborhood. It's very much a situational business sense program. We don't do what Comerica wants you to do. We do what you say you need done.
Hi, my name is Bruce Lewis, the president of LB Limited and Associates, Strategic Public Relations. The Business Readiness course and training curriculum is very comprehensive, and these small businesses are challenged to the tilt on how much they really want to be viable business owners, both sustainable within their community and sustainable within their business operations. This curriculum is so intense that each of these students have to make a commitment, and they come to the table with a lot of courage and desire. We go from a business plan formation to financial schemes to projections to marketing to helping them speak publicly through our pitch platform and contest. And at the end of the day, they all are very, very confident in what they're doing, even when they start and not quite sure of what they want to do. When they leave this coursework, they have a clear path to success. Thanks to Consolidated Credit, put this program together and presented this program on behalf of the City of Riviera Beach CRA and sponsored by Comerica. These students now have a leg up and have an advantage to be competitive, self-sustaining small businesses within the City of Riviera Beach.
So with that, I'll take my last minute and invite up our facilitator, Maria Gaten, with the Consolidated Credit, and let her introduce 3 of our aspiring young entrepreneurs. Maria.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to share the program that turned out to be an amazing experience for us presenting and for the participants. And I've had nothing but great response and accolades for the curriculum and the presenters. So, and I thank Chair Miller Anderson for your support. Coming one of the sessions. And with that, I would like to introduce you briefly to 3 of the graduates. And I don't think we mentioned in the video, but we actually had 26 people go through this to the program from beginning to end. And I felt very reassured as to what we brought to them, that they stay with it for 6 weeks. So with that, I would like to invite Pamela Black. She's one of our graduates. She just introduced herself and tell you about her, what the name of her company is.
Good evening.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for having me. My name is Pamela Black, and I am a graduate of the Business Readiness Program. I am a startup. My business is called the Positive Purge People, and I also have a nonprofit. I'm a co-founder. It's called One Life to Live Foundation. So we want to support women in the community who may be women veterans, women who have suffered trauma, to help them overcome their difficulties through positive measures, holistic wellness. This program has helped me tremendously to get organized, to understand the financial requirements to run a business in the local community. And I think the investment in time and energies and expertise that the panel gave us was invaluable. And for some who may not have ever been able to afford it, it has been definitely a wonderful thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Catherine Russell.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Catherine Russell. I am founder and CEO of Laguna Wellness and Spa. This program was phenomenal for me. I committed to the 6 weeks of the program. What it did was it did give me a great foundation of what it's like financially, to how to be prepared for the business. Not only financially, but just to have the knowledge base, everywhere from the legal aspect to accounting to IRS, all those things that you really don't consider or think about that's as important as owning a business. Those things really stood out in the program. I remember a year ago looking for funding to get started up with my business, and I was told that to have a business plan, which was the greater part of this program, that helped me probably the most, because I didn't know how to do a business plan. I had no idea. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just could not put it together. So what it did was help me structure what I wanted to do. So I was told a year ago to prepare for a business plan that I'd be charged $3,000 just to get that started. And to be a part of something that's funded gave me so much more comfort. Financially, it gave me a bigger, broad spectrum of what to look for and what to put together to introduce, how to introduce a business plan. So I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Ashley Walker.
Hi, I'm Ashley Walker,
Good
owner
evening.
of Top Shelf Gourmet Popsicles. The program is something that is readily available for an aspiring entrepreneur or someone who's a little bit more seasoned like myself, having been in business 3 or more years. I think the best part, or the best session for me, was the president of the BBIC coming in and how friendly he was, the knowledge base that he had. I mean, that's the level that I'm on. I'm interested in funding. I'm interested in those opportunities for my upcoming venture. So I thoroughly enjoyed his presentation. Just he gave us a checklist as to what I needed. So when I go with my one-on-one with him, I'm already working on that information. So when I get there, I can have my portfolio already ready. I'm not just coming in there looking crazy. I'll be prepared. So yeah, they're aware. Yeah.
Yeah, just
So,
sign that
yeah,
just now.
Yeah, everybody here is aware of that.
Yes.
So, but as a part,
Bring in better, more expensive programs for our young people.
And make sure that everyone in our community does better. So thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Comments from the board?
Okay, well,
So for these meetings that we're having after our CRA meetings, are you just going to?
and I can see
19.
The total budget was $3 million. Of that, the largest portion was for real estate acquisition, which we are
Add or whatever from there.
follow up, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Do we have